All righty. Okay. Thank you for jumping back in. I appreciate it. I'm going to just take just a moment to allow people to jump back in. As we continue part 2, we did have some directions earlier as to how you could participate in our giveaways for episode 100. You'll have to catch the replay on part 1 where I explain those directions. All right. Mean Girls All Grown Up, Surviving Catty and Conniving Women. Excellent, excellent book by Haley DeMarco. And believe it or not, we have covered several of the different sections we're going to be covering tomorrow. How to identify the types of mean girls in your life, and how to handle them. All right. But right now we're going to talk about mean friends, women as friends. Why is it easier to be friends with men? So thank you all for those of you who are watching outside of the app. Thank you for those who are watching by laptop. And thank you for those who are in the app as well. All right. So why is it easier to be friends with men? Put some hearts on the screen if you see yourself as a woman who has lots of male friends or who gets along very well with men. Let's see if we have any women in the house. All right. You enjoy your friendships with the opposite sex. Awesome. Okay. I know for me, I tend to get along better with men. But I think I think it has a little bit to do with my upbringing. I come from a family of, I don't want to get the number of them wrong. Lots of uncles. Let me just say it that way. I've got at least 10, okay, that were actually in my life in some way, shape, or form on a regular basis. And so growing up, I saw men that were, married, that were committed to their wives, that were in strong relationships, that honored my grandmother, that honored my aunts. Like the men in my family, I love my uncles. Like, I know some people say like they're a daddy's girl. I'm an uncle's girl. So I love my uncles. They are kind. They are generous. They are comedic. They always kept it 100 when it came to talking about relationships. Some of them are 5-star chefs, so I was enjoying the cooking. And I remember on our holidays that the men in our family would cook for the holidays because they were such awesome, incredible cooks. And so I would, over the holidays, whether it was 4th of July or Memorial Day or Thanksgiving, I have those, memories of good family time where the men would sit around and I would just sit there and listen to their conversations. Sometimes they'd be talking about sports, or sometimes they'd be talking about politics and things that were going on in the world. Sometimes they would be talking about relationships. Sometimes, very, very rarely were they talking about God, because sometimes they got a little heated. Because one of my uncles is Nation of Islam, but most of my uncles are Christian. So I would say immersed in an atmosphere of male positivity or male influence that positively shaped what I thought about men, if that makes any sense. And then I myself have 5 brothers. Okay. So I only have one sister. So my life has lots of male energy in it. That's how I grew up. So when I engage in conversations, usually with men, I'm engaging in conversations along different subject matter. I'm not really good at sports because I don't really subscribe to the whole football or basketball. I played sports, but I would rather a man talk to me and teach me something about sports than to try to, engage as if I am an expert. All right. So for me, my ability or my desire to have good, healthy friendships with males does not come out of having terrible relationships with females. Am I talking to somebody? Because what happens, unfortunately, and, even talking to some of the young ladies that were in my school, a lot of their relationships with men or with the opposite sex came out of having a bad relationship with women. So it became, because I can't stand women, or I don't know how to resolve conflicts with women, or I don't know how to get along with women because I've experienced so many catty and conniving women, they turn all of their focus from trying to relate to the same sex. They turn all their focus and their energy into their relationships with the opposite sex. And sometimes that became a healthy thing for them, and they learned how to deal with men, or they learn how to communicate and have healthy relationships with the opposite sex. But some women, that actually did not turn into a good thing, because it became, I hate women, I love men, and then I love men turned into some other things that got mixed in there. Maybe some lust, maybe some bad sexual encounters, because they started turning away from relationships with females, thinking that relationships with the opposite sex would replace female relationships. Okay, nobody gonna give me hearts. I get it. I know. And so what happened was some of that you should have been building with women in terms of having healthy relationships with women got put into relationships with men. And then you found yourself going through several relationships with men that probably never should have turned into anything other than platonic, because you were running from the conflict that's involved with having relationships with women. And so there has to be a balance. It's not just I get along with men and I'm going to have these great relationships with men, but I can't stand women. Because if you can't stand women, then that means that there's something going on internally with you about how you feel about womanhood, period. Let me sip my drink. So let's see what the young lady here has to say. Why is it easier to be friends with men? If you just don't get women and never have, or if you think men are easier to get along with, but you know you need girlfriends, or if you are ready to make some true friends instead of mean friends, then read on. I know how hard it is to be friends with women. Believe me, it takes a lot of work. Men are so much easier to be with. They aren't as emotional. They're fun to be with. But that's no excuse to avoid women altogether. And if you haven't already experienced it, one day you will find that you really need women friends. I believe that God made us for communion, not just with the opposite sex, but also with other women. He didn't make us so that all our lives we would be surrounded by men only. That brings a whole lot of problems when it comes time to pair off. Now, if you're a woman who's been around a whole lot of men, you have probably already experienced or witnessed this. What is she talking about? She's talking about that in a situation where you have a lot of male friends, there's probably at least one or two of them that both like you. Let's be real. Okay. Okay. Just checking. Let me see if anybody was going to be real on that moment. So if you have male friends, if you have lots of male friends and they enjoy being around you, chances are at least one or two of them, if there's about 5 or 6 of them that hang with you, chances are one or two of them both like you. Okay. Jealousy, the risk of affairs, all of that centers when you mainly have friends of the opposite sex. And the truth is, certain things we can only get out of our relationships from women. All right? So, girls are important. And as you get older, what you are doing when you surround yourself with women is preparing yourself for the future. Men can come and go, but if you keep your friendships strong, you will always have a woman around that will be able to communicate with you what your feelings are. And if you are married, you already know that your girlfriends can relieve some stress that you put on your spouse by trying to make them be your girlfriend. Oh. I know. You don't even have to give me any hearts on that. I get it. But some women are trying to make their spouse be their girlfriend. I didn't say best friend. We know he's your best friend. We know. But he's not your girlfriend. I'm not going to tell you how many men we've counseled that their wife is trying to make them their girlfriend when they need female communication and connection. Men don't need or even want to know everything about girlfriends. When they do, it can get overwhelming. It's too much to hear that your cramps really hurt today. Okay. Rare is the man who wants to hear about your menstrual cycle. If he does, you got a rare one. It's boring to hear that you might hate your hair or that your cat did the cutest thing today. Most men cannot handle all that women want to say. That's why we need girlfriends. Blink, blink. Blink if you're there. Blink if you're there. Sometimes we give men a communication overload and then we get upset when they tune out. They're gone. We do. But how do you become friends with women? The woman who has spent a lot of time making friends with men may have very little clue as to how to make friends with women. So here are a few pointers to help you out. Remember, it is essential to not just have male communication, male relationships that are healthy. It is also essential to have female relationships that are healthy. All right. So here are some things you need to know about finding girlfriends. Remember, the scripture says, he who has friends, or he who would have friends, must do what? Show themselves friendly. Somebody says, well, I don't got no friends. I don't have no girlfriends. The question then is, have you shown yourself friendly? Have you shown yourself friendly? If you're complaining that you don't have female relationships, you have to go back and say, have I shown myself friendly? Am I approachable? Or do I give everybody the side eye and the evil eye? Like, you better not come over here and talk to me. You better not say anything to me. I don't want to deal with you today. So we have to look at our own demeanor as women. So number one is effort. It's all about effort. You have to be looking for friends. It has to be you not just expecting people to come up and open themselves up to you, but you also have to be willing to open yourself up to new people. Some of us, before we open ourselves to new people, we might have to deal with old baggage, right? We might have to deal with old hurts. Lady Apostle, if you're here, can you put some comment up today? Can you put here, I'm here, so that people can see you and follow you? Lady Apostle has an excellent program called In His Image Wholeness Program to help women. A part of it is about helping you to begin to heal in areas and things that you need to heal in. So some of us have to do some inner work and some soul work and figure out why we are repelled so much by our own sex and gender. Okay? Some of us have to do some self-work before we can be a good friend. That's just real. We have to say, I need to heal in some areas of how I view women, how I think about women before I go trudging out trying to be a friend. All right? So, making friends does require work, especially when it comes to our gender. It might require that you call them first, or call them a couple of times a week just to talk, or in some cases, just to listen. It might require that you ask them to do things with you. Maybe go for a cup of coffee, or, maybe hang out in a bookstore together. Maybe go to the movies or something. Just you and your friendships, your lady friends that you're trying to establish friendships with. Don't wait for them to ask, even if you might be shy. Okay? Some people really are afraid of rejection, and so that's why they don't step out and ask. But you have to be able to get over, you have to say, God, help me to get over the fear of rejection. I know there are some young ladies that even in their early years, going into teenagehood and developing into womanhood, they may have experienced isolation in school. They may have experienced those things, and those things are still lingering with them as they become grown women. So sometimes we can be grown women, but we can have a childlike mentality when it comes to our relationships and dealing with other women. So now you have lots of grown women whose mindset is still stuck in what happened to them when they were in junior high, or what happened to them when they were in high school. Maybe you were not liked. Maybe you were not a part of the quote unquote in crowd. Maybe you were like me in middle school. I was very outgoing when I first got to middle school. I was just doing some crazy stuff, like going up to boys and asking them out on dates and stuff. And I didn't understand the rules of middle school yet. But they taught me, you don't, if you're a 7th grader, you don't go up to a 9th grader having a conversation, that kind of stuff. And so because of some of the taunting that I got my first year of middle school, because I didn't understand the hidden curriculum between students, I didn't understand rank, right? The freshmen, the sophomores, etc., the seniors, who was of rank. I didn't understand that when I first got there. So I began to experience the backlash of not understanding that there's just certain things you don't do. Okay? And because of that, I began to withdraw. My little social self began to withdraw until I got to high school. And by then, I was pretty calloused. And I really didn't care what anybody thought about me. And then I learned to build my female relationships with other young ladies at the time who didn't care what people thought about them either. So we were a group of young ladies whose identity was not centered around whether or not somebody liked us or whether or not somebody was pleased with us. Okay? But again, everybody doesn't have that experience. So some of the lingering effects of things that happen to women in their younger years follows them into their adulthood. And if you have not dealt with them, you will begin to treat your adult relationships in the same way that you were dealing with relationships in your adolescent years. Am I making any sense? Put some hearts on the screen if you understand what I'm saying. So there are certain kinds of childish behaviors, right, that begin to follow women over into their adulthood. How do we know that you're a grown woman with an adolescent mind? Somebody type an example of something a grown woman does who has an adolescent mind. Social media, by the way, is a very good exposer of adult women who are still operating with an adolescent mind. I'll give you an example. An adult woman who has an adolescent mind does not solve her problems by going to the person. Exactly. They solve their problems by going to social media and putting all their business online. That's what adolescents do. So when I see 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old women doing this, that tells me that their mind has not caught up with their body. Okay? So, number 2, you got to show effort if you're trying to build relationships. Number 2, maintain the love. Women usually need more attention than men. We're not going to say all women, but women usually need more attention than men. I know that I could go an entire month without calling my guy friends, but once we talked again, it was like we had been together all month. They didn't hold a grudge against me for not calling, but girls in this area tend to be different. They like to be kept in the loop. So here are some ideas that you can use as you're building relationships with women, as you're building communication and trust to keep them in the loop. You can send an e-card. You're like, Shantae, okay, I'm not good at this whole building women friendship stuff. I like my male friends. I'm comfortable there. Here are some things you can do to get out of your comfort zone. Send them e-cards. Drop them a note in the mail. Call them just to see how their day is going. Not that you want anything, not that you're trying to sell anything. I'm going to have to get on that. I'm going to put a plug. I'll come back to that. Not that you're trying to sell anything. Put a note on their desk saying hello. Buy them a gift like their favorite candy or a favorite magazine. Something very, simple, inexpensive. Pick a flower and send it to them or give it to them. Find a way to let them know that you are thinking about them. Be creative. It doesn't have to take too much time or energy. Now, call people or reach out to them to see how their day is going. I will tell you this. Here's one way women can turn other women off from a friendship. All right? You see me online, just giving you a social media example. You see me online, you request my friendship. All right? I go to your page, I'm scrolling down it. You're sharing positive things. You're not half naked, because I don't need that flowing through my timeline. Everything seems on the up and up. So I go ahead and I click the friend button. And then 20 minutes after you have friended me, you are now inundating my inbox with network marketing. I'll wait. Hey, I want you to buy these vitamins. Hey, I want you to sign up for Plexus. Hey, I've got a purse party going on. Hey, I'm having a Scentsy party. Like, you just met me 20 minutes ago. Donate to my charity. Listen, you just met me 20 minutes ago. Can I get a hello? Okay, maybe it's only me. Maybe it's only me and Lady Apostle who are experiencing this. And I'm like, Lord, I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. But come on, people, especially the body of Christ. We're terrible at this. We are terrible at this. We are terrible at this. Do you know how many people I befriend that are in music? But the first thing I do is not link them to my CD and tell them to buy one. Hello? Help us, God. Number 3, learn to speak girlies. They ask for advice, share their personal life 5 minutes after becoming friends. Exactly. That's another thing. Like, if you're going to befriend ladies, if you're going to befriend other women, pastors, other women leaders, they're not your personal psychics. They're not. They're not your personal guides. Okay, well, she say she a prophet. Well, let me come in her inbox and ask her to prophesy to me or tell me what she see in me or what the Lord is saying. Honey, no ma'am. Oh, Lord. First of all, I would have to be authorized by the Lord to tell you what I see. Because sometimes when leaders do see stuff in you, you're not ready for them to tell you what they see. I'm going to take a sip right there. Exactly. Then they get offended when you ignore them or when you correct them. So please, as we're making friends, all right, this is just specifically applies to social media, but it does apply to other areas of your life. As you're making friends, make sure, I hear the Holy Spirit on this. As you're making friends, make sure you're not milking friends. Somebody type that. That needs to be a quote today on my social media page. Remember, you're here to make friends, not milk friends, not milk your friendships. Some of us are milking our friendships, and then when the cow is dry, We let the cow fall over and go into unconsciousness because it's no longer of use to us. Or we milk the friend, and then when the milk is dry, we chop the friend up and then we serve them. Exactly. As you're making friends, make sure you are not milking friends. Make sure that you are not operating in predatory behavior. As you're making friends, make sure you are not milking your friends. Number 3. Lord, I'm over time. I'm almost done. Bear with me. Number 3, learn to speak girlies. If you aren't used to being around women and girls, then a few pointers on how they communicate might help you out. Let's start with how guys talk for comparison. Men usually communicate like a football game. Take your time. The guy telling the story is on the offense. The listener is on the defense. At some point, the guy on the offense scores and kicks the ball off to the other team, who then takes the ball and is off onto his story. Passing off and whose ball it is are clear. They always have a goal in mind, a point that one guy must get to so that the other guy can take the ball. So when you're talking to men, and I know there's men in here that's going to say amen. So please, men, feel free to say amen. When you're talking to men, getting to the point is crucial. Listen, when I'm talking to my husband, I have to give bullet points and be very precise. Men do not want a once upon a time there was fairy tale story that's circular and then it gets to the point. Men like you to get to the point. What is going on? Who's bothering you? Who do I need to go harm? Who do I need to go talk to? What's wrong with the car? How can I fix it? ... Get to the point. Exactly. You don't want a tour. So ladies, don't give men the tour when you're conversing with them. Please be specific and pointed and get to the point. They will love you for it all day long. Okay? Women, on the other hand, usually communicate like a game of Twister. We pick a subject and get to talking on it. Yeah, I know. I'm the same way sometimes. We pick a subject and get to talking on it. Another woman interrupts with a comment on the topic that is a subtopic on the comment that you started on. And then it goes back to the other woman. Interruptions occur frequently and make the story off topic for a few minutes before you finally get back on topic. And usually when you're talking to women, they might say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got off topic. What were you saying again?" Or, "I'm sorry, I just had to say that because it was in my mind and it connected to something you were just talking about." That's how we talk as women. There's a book out. Some of y'all might need to get it. And I think it's a video as well. I showed it to my students, but it was very helpful. It said, "Men are waffles, women are spaghetti." It's true. If you think about spaghetti in a bowl, it's all interwoven and it just wired differently. Men are waffles. You got the little squares. Everything is in a box. Subject matter is in a box. Don't take me out of that box until we're done with that box, and then I'll hop over to the next box. All right? So the goal for women often isn't anything more than just speaking most of the time. Sometimes we don't necessarily have a point or a finish line to our conversations. Sometimes we just want to talk. And then when we're done talking, we say, "Man, that was a great conversation." Did it really have a point? The point was the communication and the bonding that you shared with that woman. Men, get to the point. They want a point to our conversation. I'm just being honest. And listen, ladies, if you keep talking to a guy and you never have a point to your conversation, 9 times out of 10, he's probably not going to want to be talking to you often. Because in his mind, he's going to be like, man, this girl just talks and talks and talks and rambles on and on and on. And that is a turnoff for most men. I'm not going to get any hearts on that. I know. I get it. I get it. Welcome, Mr. Ernie Perry. Appreciate you joining us today, sir. So, again, men like it when women get to the point. I had the benefit of seeing how men talk in my life. Exactly. I had the benefit of having several uncles. I had the benefit of hearing how men talk. I had the benefit of listening in on their conversations. And so that helped me when I converse with men in my regular everyday life. I know how to get to the point. And then when I'm with my sisters in the faith, I know how to talk for 2 hours and say, my God, where did the time go? But it becomes more of a bonding in my communication with women, and in my communication with men, it is about getting to the point. Give men something to solve, and you have won them over. Men are problem solvers. Men like to fix things. They like to provide answers and solutions. Okay? So a lot of the conversation that you're going to have with men is about solutions. It's about problem solving. Thank you, men, for chiming in. Because I know some of these women are looking at me like deer caught in the headlights. But I'm trying to tell you. With about 10 uncles and 5 brothers, the conversation with men is get to the point. Is there something I can help you with? Is there a problem I can help you solve? Okay? So if you are used to guy talk as a woman, hanging out with women might be a little challenging for you. At first, for me, it was challenging. It was. Because like she's saying here, I had to learn how to speak girlies. I did. I was a tomboy. I was nicknamed Evel Knievel Jr. So you can imagine. All right? But when it came to things that girls were interested in, I would have my Barbies, but I would be blowing up my Barbies. And I would have those little Hot Wheels race cars. Listen, I was in my own world. So I had to get to a point to where if I wanted to build my relationships with women, oh yeah, I was doing all kind of stuff. I had to get to a point to where if I wanted to build my relationship with women, I had to say, I don't really know a whole lot of things that women are interested in, but I better learn to be girly a little bit if I plan to have healthy relationships with women. This is a real thing. Like my husband will tell you, I just recently this year actually started really carrying a purse. Most of my friends, they've known me years, decades. Ask them if they ever saw me with a purse. I didn't carry one. People would buy me expensive purses to try to force me to carry a purse. It would sit in my closet. And I'm like, man, if you're buying me a purse, you're kind of wasting your money. But just recently, I have gotten away from carrying paper bags and plastic bags and duffel bags to actually carrying a purse. All right? That's a major accomplishment for me. And I'm 39, okay? But it was one of those things that didn't matter to me. So if you tried to talk to me about purses or about fashion labels and all that kind of stuff, I would be the one looking at you like a deer caught in headlights. because that kind of stuff just was not important to me. So I'm learning to be a little more on the girly girl side so that I can have something in common, right, with women that I'm trying to build relationships with. And that is what it's all about. Thank you all for hanging in with me today. I have again gone over time. Tomorrow, again, we're going to do a double header, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're going to start out with Tony Evans' book, Watch Your Mouth, and then we're going to take a break. And from 1 to 2, we'll come back and we'll be back in the Mean Girls book of how to handle certain types of mean girls. I hope that I have said something today that will help you not only in your relationships with women, but also in your relationships with men. This has been another Daring Dialogue. I thank you for making it with me to episode 100. I'm excited about this milestone. And if you want to participate in the giveaway, you have to go back and watch part 1 to find out how to participate in the giveaway. All right. Thank you all again so much. I appreciate your time and attention. Take care. And until tomorrow, remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness. Be light today. God bless.